Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Super, super excited. If you enjoyed the music, please do let us know in the chat. And we're going to get straight into it. So thank you for joining us at the Rise of the Black Communities in Tech event. It's so awesome to have 300 of you with us today. 900 of you signed up, so I'm sure we'll be having people come through today. We have an amazing panel today of incredible speakers, individuals that I'm proud to call my friends, my allies, my partners. Daily, I am inspired by them all, and I'm sure that all of you will be as well. So the session will be recorded today for those that are asking, and that will go onto our YouTube channel. And that is, this is YSYS on YouTube. And you can see we've got all our social media links in the picture below. Sorry, I'm just kind of check if, can everyone see my screen? Just give me a nod if you can, or thumbs up to the panelists if you can. Cool, perfect. We have loads of raised hands. This is the first time I'm using Zoom webinars, so bear with me. I work in tech, but I'm still trying to get used to loads of things. I got 100 raised hands on my chat right now. So I'm gonna, if you could stop raising your hands, because it's popping up all over my screen. But yeah, this is gonna be a safe space. So I wanna ensure that we create a safe space before we get started and then go into meditation. So what we're about to talk about is super important. And so we will be moderating the chat for any racist comments or any comments that are disrespectful, and those will be reported. But also, it's been a tough week for us as Black individuals. It's tough most of the times. And so the conversation that we're gonna be speaking about on today's call is gonna be empowering. But if there's moments where you feel triggered or this is affecting you emotionally, as Black individuals, I do ask that you take that time out. It's okay to come off the session and come back and re-engage. Your well-being is super, super important to us. So I'm gonna start off by, I prepared a little talk, so I'm gonna share that and then go into the presentation. So as you know, this week has been heavy for us all. So many of us as Black individuals, we have witnessed pain, trauma, abuse, racism, and so much more yet again. The tragic death of Floyd Aubrey Taylor in the US and Belly in the UK has propelled a global movement centered around Black lives. The death has brought so many Black communities together and has forced non-Blacks to check their racism, but more importantly, to be anti-racist. As Black community leaders, we are often having to prove our pain or justify why we feel attacked. But thanks to Darnell Fraser and her 8-minute, 40-second video, we no longer have to validate the racial injustice that we face. This week has been long. We've posted on Instagram, we've taken time to learn, we've donated, but we really want to ensure that as we speak, as a community, we speak from a place of strength, a place of power, as we look to rebuild society where Black lives matter. We are operating at the heart of tech. So many of you on the call today work in tech or tech adjacent. Thanks to platforms like Kwanda, like Serele, we can mobilize and share information and distribute faster. So as a community, as an audience, as those that signed up today, I really urge you to stand up, speak out. Now is the time that we begin to take action. We begin to advocate for change. This is not a time to be silent or pay lip service. This is not about PR. This is about people. It's about Black lives, Black communities. Let's be better and let's do better. So I'm gonna hand it over to Arakeli, who's gonna take us into a meditation session for 5 minutes, and I'll leave it to her. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I feel so calmed and relaxed. I'm gonna just give a quick overview about YSYS for those that don't know and that are joining us for the first time, and then we're gonna hop straight into our amazing panel. For those that are on social media, I've just put up our Twitter account, and the hashtag is Black Tech Communities. So please do hashtag your thoughts, your feedback, and the actions that you will be taking from all the gems that are going to be shared on this panel. So YSYS stands for Your Startup, Your Story. We're a startup community of amazing innovators, entrepreneurs, investors, and doers. And we build and design entrepreneurial and employment talent for diverse individuals within tech. So we started about 3 years ago as a WhatsApp group. And 3 years on, we have provided access to opportunities for over 10,000 individuals. And for us, the key word here is access. Because when we think about diverse talent, when we think about Black talent, we are exceptional. We are highly skilled, and we are high achievers. But what we try to do is really connect and build access for diverse talent or Black talent that's in Brixton, and connecting them to the opportunity that might exist in Old Street. So in order to do that more, we have launched a massive mission this year called YSYS 2023, which is to provide access to opportunities for 100,000 diverse individuals. And I want to talk about one specific program that we're working and we're looking to drive further impact. So this year we launched the Tech Career Scholarship Program, which is a scholarship program for 10 amazing young Black men to develop employability skills within tech. You can see all their awesome faces up there. And for the past 2 months, they have been learning the fundamentals of UX design, how to code, how to negotiate, how to write killer CVs, and how to build up their portfolio. And right now they're currently looking for job opportunities or qualifications within the tech industry. And so I really urge anyone in this call or attending this session, if you do have an opportunity that's available, please do get in contact with myself at Deborah@thisisysys.com, or head over to our website. If you want to make action, here's where you can start. But we know that diversity is more than just good intentions, it's about action. We're creating amazing programs, amazing pathways, but what we really want to ensure is that when we're sending diverse and Black talent out there into these tech companies, or if they're looking to raise investment, that they're in places that they can thrive also. And so as a community, we work really hard in breaking down barriers and creating new infrastructures for our communities to thrive in. And with that, we do a lot of lobbying. We write open letters, we try to influence and change policies. And that's why I'm super excited today to announce the launch of YSYS Advocacy Platform, a community of change makers that really want to campaign against the exclusion of diverse talent within the tech sector. I sent an email about it yesterday. If you haven't seen it, there will be another one going out today. But a lot of people, I've been getting a lot of messages from individuals saying, how can I make a difference? How can I change? How can I do something? That's where you can start. And I'm really proud, and some of the individuals that are on the panel with us today, we've made some amazing changes and we've done loads of advocacy work. So here's a few pictures of the impact that we've done. Right at the top, you'll see there's a picture of Natalie Campbell, who sits on the Mayor of London's LEP board. Early last year, we campaigned for the Mayor of London to consider or to really notice and include Black women within his entrepreneurial programs, and to begin to consider the word intersectionality. There was a program that was only had white women, and we know that Black women, we build and we mobilize and we build awesome communities. So we need to be included, we need to show up, we need to also gain the same support. So a few Black female founders, we wrote an open letter. You can find out about that story on our website. And that took us all the way to City Hall by the invite of Natalie Campbell, where we could give our suggestions to Rajesh Agrawal, the Deputy Mayor of London. And that eventually led to the Diversity Entrepreneurship Summit, which is the annual summit signposting activities and program support that diverse and Black talent can get engaged with, but also spotlighting the awesome talent that we have in London, in the UK, that are building our startup community. I could go on and on about this, but I'm really keen to get to our panel. So, you know, if you are about action, if you are about investing in what you talk about, please do join us as an advocate. I've just put up the link up there, but you can go onto our website and click the advocate tab to find out more information. But we're going to get started now. I hope everyone's ready. And I'm going to get my questions up. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Cool. The first question, I think it's going to be for everyone on the panel. to just introduce yourself and your organization. And we can go in any order.
I can go first. My name is Jermaine Craig, and I founded a company called Kwanda early this year, which is a modern collection pot for Black communities. And what we're essentially doing is we're using technology and online community to scale the practice of collective finance for and within Black communities.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. My name is Kike Onowinde. I am the co-founder and CEO of BYP Network. We connect Black professionals with each other and corporations. We have a community of over 40,000 members around the world, and we work with corporates such as Facebook, Accenture, Sky, etc., to connect them to the talent. The way we work with corporates is culture analysis and accountability. What this means with the current climate, we spoke to our corporate partners about what they're doing internally to make a difference, and what message they want to bring across to the BYP Network community. We also work in terms of the community, bringing them together to hit our core values, which is changing the Black narrative. And what that means is that, you know, the narrative that we see right now is negative. It's always negative news. It's always a lack of role model visibility. And it's always what's causing trauma right now, essentially. But we're so much more than that. As Deborah said, we are talented, we are amazing, but we need to see that now and we need to connect. And I believe that economic empowerment is super important. And if we come together to collaborate on ideas, we can change the world. And that's essentially what we're here to do.
Hi, so my name is Yvonne Bajella. I'm a founder member and principal at ImpactX. So ImpactX is a UK-based venture capital fund backing underrepresented founders, predominantly Black female founders. We typically invest at the seed and Series A stages. We started investing last year in April, and since then we've made over 13 investments. And I'm really pleased to be part of this discussion today. I think it's been a difficult week for the majority of us. I'm happy that it's increased visibility around the issue, and I'm looking forward to this conversation and how we can really move forward and enact change going forward in the community.
Hey everyone, Abadesi here. I'm the founder of Hustle Crew, and since 2016 I've been using talks, training and mentorship to make tech more inclusive. Our community is about 5,000 people now, and we've worked with over 30 tech companies to teach them about bias, privilege and structural oppression, so that they can mitigate their impact on everything from product design to hiring.
Hannah?
Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much, Deborah, for having me. I respect your work a huge amount, so I'm really, really honoured to be here this evening. My name's Hannah. I'm the CEO and founder of Fearless Futures. We're an organisation that works with companies who are sort of active and ready to challenge inequities. We do this by supporting people to address their root causes, their intersections and their lived realities. And we do this through facilitating transformative equity and inclusion learning experiences, both in person and online. And we also partner with our clients increasingly through consultancy in service of designing equitable ecosystems for people and products.
Awesome. BJ?
Hey everyone, I'm BJ Malenga. I am founder of Super. Started it as a teenager and I've evolved it many times as a kid. Currently, in the last 2 years, we've been primarily focused on being a training provider, going into corporates and answering those problems why we're not qualified enough to do the job by creating programs to get people skilled. We work with companies like Apple, Facebook, The Office Group. We design entrepreneur programs, we design programs on creativity, and we also deliver digital skills training. Over the last 10 years, we've created the UK's first pop-up market run by teenagers. We've also had tuck shops in secondary schools and trained over 20,000 young people. And that's us.
Awesome. And Lynette, who was doing the DJing today, you want to introduce yourself too?
Hi everyone, I'm Lynette. So I'm the founder of Element International. We work with young Black people who are NEET, so not in education, employment and training. So we provide opportunities for them to develop their business skills, their personal branding and their networking opportunities, as well as giving them funding opportunities and empowering professionals to give back by mentoring them and doing guest speaking sessions. So I will be helping Deborah to moderate this chat, and I'll be taking questions from the Q&A. So as people are kind of speaking, if you have any questions that you want to drop in the Q&A, Deborah and I will address those at the end. So as we're going along, do drop your questions in. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So there's so many great people on the panel. So there's a few questions I put together for everyone to address, and then we'll go into some direct questions. But I'll start off with you, Jermaine. Can you share with us the moment that sparked you to create Kwanda?
So when it was a lot of moments, like this has been something that I've been thinking about for the whole of my life, and I think a lot of Black people share the same sentiment. It's something that sticks out as an obvious solution to some of the problems we run into, like as you move through life. I think that the exact moment would be I was just having one of those like conversations I normally have with my family. We were sitting down, looking into like history documentaries and learning about ideas like the Black Wall Street, etc. And then it just struck me that we haven't tried such a thing again in this new age where, you know, it can't be burnt down essentially because we're protected by the internet. And if you think about, you know, the recent police killings being recorded and how that's acted as a sort of protecting agent for us, it's like, how can you use some of those technologies that exist around us, place a structure that's truly for us within that, and use that to protect us and also distribute that. So, you know, back in the days, you'd kill the leader of such a thing, and like, you just can't do that nowadays. You can share out the company, you can distribute the network. And I'm trying to just see if we can kind of give it another shot, really, give Black Wall Street or all of these movements that were for the liberation of Black people another shot.
Powerful. And that's what I love about technology, because it's just allowing us to mobilize, move so much quicker. And I think that's what's so powerful about the Black Lives Matter movement, that we're moving a lot faster as opposed to the civil rights movement when we had Martin, Ella Baker, and Malcolm leading that. We have a rise of Gen Z millennials and more kind of driving that through digital access. Same question for everyone on the panel, but I'll start with Abadesi.
It's, for me, it was a very personal, difficult, emotional time. I found myself the most experienced and the most senior I had ever been in my tech career, but it created a lot of tension in the environment I was in. I was trying to drive changes around, you know, hiring more people from diverse backgrounds. I was always met with opposition, and being the only Black person in the company, I was having to have conversations about why it was not okay to use my hair as a stress ball with people I worked with. And when I took this to the co-founder back in Silicon Valley, his interpretation of it was that it was my problem. It was my issue. And thank God I have a great support network and great friends, and they told me to get out of there. They were like, this is not an environment that you need to be in. And as I started trying to find other jobs in London, my old team wouldn't give me references because, you know, I did walk out, and I made it very vocal I was leaving because I felt bullied and excluded, and they didn't believe that was not their version of reality. So that is what forced me to then start a company and start a community, and I worked on it full time, and it became my livelihood. And you know, for a long time that was a very painful experience, but now the way things have gone, I'm actually grateful to those haters because look at me now. But yeah, that's how it began.
Honestly, turn your pain into drive. Abadesi, I love you so much. You give me so much strength and resilience. I'm so happy to have you here. Same question for Kike.
Hi again, everyone. So mine came in 2016. It came during the last Black Lives Matter protests. I just come back from America. I had an amazing time out there, met incredible people out there. And then it allowed me to reflect on my journey. You know, I myself gained a lot of opportunities in general because I was really academic and I was also an elite athlete. So I did javelin for Great Britain. So literally all doors would open for me. But in the same household, you know, my elder brother went to prison. So for me, it was like, actually, it's not as simple as it looks. You know, I've been very fortunate because I don't know, I've been working extremely hard. I've got grace. You know, I've been able to check my own privilege, and coming back and seeing that, it was like, what can happen? What change needs to happen as a community, or how do we come together to make a difference? And I kind of felt that actually there must be so many other people that think the same way I'm thinking, that want to make a difference but feel powerless. I remember I was tweeting and quote tweeting and saying, this needs to stop. These videos are terrible. Why is this happening? But it still wasn't enough. And then just looking at my time in the corporations, you know, I'd be like the only Black person in the room. And it would be interesting because maybe the other person, the white person next to me, got the opportunity from their dad, who works as an MD in the company and was able to give him that internship. Whereas, you know, I had to apply through programs. I had to, you know, be above and beyond exceptional to be in the room. And that allowed me to think that I don't like that term of we need to be 10 times better, or we need to work twice as hard to be half as good. That's not fair. Why should that be our reality as a Black community? And those kind of thought processes allow me to think that actually, let's come together as a Black community all around the globe, where we can share ideas, we can start new businesses, we can refer each other for organizations. We as a community can tell organizations what needs to be changed, what needs to be done, and be a voice of change. And in that time, you know, we've been able to grow the community and work with these corporate partners and hold them accountable, but there's so much more we intend to do. So for example, we've just launched an educational newsletter, which is all about the Black experience, so that it can go directly to these CEOs and chairmen and corporate HRs, so that they can understand what we go through as Black employees and what they need to do to make change. And these are the things that we're going to keep on doing and be that bridge between the Black community and corporations, because at the end of the day, it's about economic empowerment. If we're not getting the jobs, you know, how's that going to help our community? If you're in an organization right now and nobody is Black in your organization, then think, where are the Black people? Like where are we? So when you're seeing that we're dying at 4 times the rate for COVID-19 because we're on the front lines and all this stuff, understand we're not in your companies because we're not getting the jobs. There's all these biases that exist. Why should we be okay with that? And it's a whole systematic problem from secondary school right through to working. You know, just to get to the top of your field is very difficult. And that's why there's a lack of representation. And I say this all the time, that actually the news only feeds us one way of success. It's entertainment or it's sports. And for a long time, I only saw myself as a sports star because that's all that's success. But going to America and meeting all those amazing people allowed me to realize that no, we're so amazing in all industries across the world, and we need to come together and mobilize that. We need representation, we need role model visibility, and we need to have that voice for change. So I always say, you know, BYP Network is just getting started. We've done a lot so far, but there's so much more we intend to do. And I see it as when we work with these corporates, we're not working with them, they're working with us, because we're here to help them help us. So, yeah.
I just wanted to click every single second. So powerful. And a lot of people are asking, you know, why didn't we host this event on Eventbrite or do on Typeform? We're so happy that we posted it on BYP, you guys are now starting the event platform, but it's how do we build that infrastructure of Black communities? And if we're able to work with each other and collaborate each other, we can build, you know, the new society, we can build economic wealth, and then really ensure that actually we're thriving as people. So thank you so much for sharing such powerful words. Same question for Yvonne, sister.
I'm on mute, just taking myself off mute. If you look at the world of venture capital, like over the last decade, 1.5 trillion of that has gone into venture capital deals. And most of that has been over the most recent years. Again, looking at the data, Black founded companies. And so that just highlights the systemic issue that there is in the venture capital ecosystem as we know it today. And for me, when I think about venture capital, I think of it as a major force for positive change. I mean, if you look at all the large companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, they were funded by venture capitalists. And if we really, really do want to see the world where products and services really cater for everyone, we need to ensure that we're backing Black founders and that VC firms are also representative of that, increase the Black talent within these firms. So what really fueled me was the fact that, you know, working within the VC industry over 5 years ago, I kept coming across incredible Black founders. And, you know, for example, the female founder that was creating a deep tech diagnostic product, but at the same time, she wasn't getting the access as to funding or the access to networks as her white counterparts. And if you're not getting access to funding, you don't have the same chance to succeed in the startup world. And so that's why I joined Impact X. And it's all about, you know, trying to change that narrative. A lot of VCs are leaving money on the table by not seeking out and backing Black founders. And so when I think about, you know, what fueled me, what my purpose is, it's really about, you know, backing incredible Black founders because there is no shortage, and really just ensuring that we're creating that space and really funding that gap. So over the last 15 months, we've made over 13 investments in this space, and we plan to continue doing so.
Fantastic. I mean, we hear a lot of VCs saying there's a pipeline problem, but clearly there's not. What I love about Yvonne is that you always give up your time to speak up to Black founders, whether that's through office hours or through mentoring. And so we appreciate you for that. If there's I don't know what the organizations are called that fund VCs, but let's keep funding ImpactX and putting more money into them. So thank you for all the great work you do. Hannah, over to you.
Hi. So I guess for me, I was there's a personal sort of awakening that I had. I was working in investment banking, and which was, you know, a sea of white people everywhere, and I ended up I don't really know how it happened, but I ended up doing a lot of inquiry into my own heritage. I'm mixed heritage, Algerian British, and at a particular point in time I was spending a lot of time reading about the history of Algeria, what that meant for my mum coming to the UK in the late 1970s as a Arab Muslim migrant woman, and her experience, and how distinct her experience was compared to my own. I'm read as white in the world, in particular, and all of the focus in this financial services firm was around, you know, gender diversity, by which what they really meant was white, middle class, heterosexual, non-disabled, non-Muslim, non-Jewish, cis women. But that was just used as this blanket term, as though it was going to be working for everyone. And I kept thinking, if my mum worked in this organization, nobody would care about her. If any of my aunties worked in this organization, nobody would care about them. If some of my uncles worked in this organization from Algeria, nobody would care about their experience. And at that same time, I came across the work of Black feminist scholar and theorist Bell Hooks, whose scholarship changed my life, because she is probably, I mean, she's just incredible, and everyone should read her work. I often say that if everybody reads Bell Hooks, everything would be sorted. And her commitment to looking at the ways in which struggles are interconnected, and her deep belief that we can create transformative learning experiences where we don't have to do superficial 15-minute webinars on whatever it is that doesn't make any difference to anyone, that it is possible to hold people to account in learning so that they can confront the oppressive social realities that we're experiencing. And that all came together at a certain point in time, and I felt a deep commitment to bring that level of education into corporate spaces where we can engage in conversations around, not even conversations, analysis around how racism is maintained, and colonialism, and classism, and the ways in which they're interacting together. And yeah, we're 5 years old, and we do this work in a number of organizations now, and very heavily also in tech, which is, believe it or not, possible to do.
Thank you so much for sharing. I saw a few people in the box saying, where can we get that Bell Hooks book? So head over to Phyllis Future's website. I'm sure there's a list of resources. If not, we will share that in the email. But I think one of the things that Bell Hooks says is that she'll not have her experiences narrowed down. And I think as Black people, we need to show up and show up loud. So thank you so much for sharing that. Over to you, BJ.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, why I started Super Talent. I had done Super since I was a teenager, and I took a break to set up an advertising agency that predominantly focused on influencer marketing during 2016, 2018. And I found that every time I interviewed people to work for us who were from places that I came from, sometimes the standard of quality just didn't match what I was looking for. And having co-founders who weren't from backgrounds you were from, it's quite hard to just put your people through. And I was finding it to be the same when we were working with other corporate clients like Virgin, like Coca-Cola, and trying to get them to diversify their talent pipeline. And I remember, like, obviously tonight is a Friday, it being quite late in 2018, on a March or February time, and just thinking to myself, I don't want to be working late nights for something that I don't believe in. The world doesn't need another marketing agency that helps big brands sell stuff. The world, in my opinion, for my journey, needs more awesome people doing awesome things. And sometimes when you're on a journey of trying to become who you want to become, you sometimes stop based on opportunity that you do or don't get. So I thought it was very, very important to go to all those clients that I'd amassed over the last couple of years and start to work with them on their training programs for the junior people they had in their company, but also for the talent they hadn't got into. So in the last year and a half, we've spent time, in particular with Facebook and a few other companies, focusing on digital skills, because we know in the tech industry, people being skilled in so many different roles is so important. And we've trained 5,000 people in the last 12 months. And we're on that journey of trying to train as many people, whether it be digital or face to face. And who knows what the future is. But my main thing is, it's about people being able to go and do what they want to do and not having no glass ceiling. And if it means we need more Black training providers, then let us start that journey.
100%. So, 5,000 in 12 months, you said. Organizations are on this call. Let's make that 10,000 in the next 2 months or so. Let's make that 10,000 today. So I'm just mindful of time, so I'm going to jump into a few questions. Like, during this time, I'm pretty sure everyone on this call, I've had colleagues and friends message saying, how are you dealing? How are you coping? What can we do to help? Signposting them to support, but also asking for education. And I've felt a bit tired and a bit kind of weighed down by it all. And I think, I think one of my dear friends, he's a white guy, he started a WhatsApp group for individuals are asking the oppressed to educate them, to say, here's some books that you can start from and begin to read. And my question, I guess, is directed to Abadesi. When you have organizations that are coming to you and asking for D&I training, like, where should they start?
Yeah, I've been telling people that the way we've been approaching diversity and inclusion is wrong because we have underestimated the complexity and the scope of the challenge. And I like to use language that white people understand and are familiar with. So I keep telling my clients now, you have to think about the fight for equality like the fight against climate change, in the sense that every action, thought, activity from an individual to an institutional level will either help equality or harm equality. That is how complex it is, and that is how big the problem is. And once I explain it to them like that, they suddenly go, shit, training isn't enough. Because what I want them to do is redesign every single way they make decisions, not just hiring, marketing, strategy, design. And until they start thinking about it like that, nothing's really going to change. And it's been amazing to have this going on in the background, because what I'm telling them is like a revolution is happening, and which side of it are you going to be on? Because what we're saying is this system is broken. So you either are part of the system or you're helping us tear it apart and reconstruct it in a way that will mean we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. And it was so hard before for them to understand that, because people don't want to feel like they're part of the problem. And their privilege has blinded them to the trauma and the struggles we feel. Literally today, an investor said to me, oh, there's so much bad stuff happening right now. And I said, this bad stuff has been happening to us all the time. Check your privilege. And they all suddenly went, wow, good point. Yeah. I was like, this ain't the first time a Black man's been lynched by the police. It's the first time it went viral on social media. It's the first time it caught your attention. So I really do try to impress upon them the scale of the challenge, because I don't want them to think it's like, hey, I'm coming in to train you on JavaScript, and at the end of this course, you're going to be able to write a few lines of code. It's like a constant journey that every word and every action, as I said, either helps or harms. That's my message at the moment, and it seems to be working.
I mean, in the comments in this chat, 100%. 100%. And I think I like what you said about the urgency that we need to, how urgent we need to move. Like, we can't wait one day to post a black square on Twitter or on Instagram and have time to reflect. Like, inequality is happening all the time. We need to move. And I think we need to be urgent and create action plans, but also infrastructures as well. And I think what I love about Kwanda is you guys have been so great in terms of mobilizing the community to fund and Black communities or Black individuals or Black projects. And you also measure a lot of the impact that you do. Please, can you share some of those stories of impact and why it's so important that you are tracking that and you are sharing that with those that might not even don't identify as Black people or from Black communities?
Yeah, so well, one of the impact measuring and transparency wasn't necessarily something that I just decided I should do. It was a result of designing a product for Black people And that's what happens when you do that. You actually design a product around the needs of Black people. And when we think about impact and transparency and trust especially, you know, as Black people, historically, we've trusted and we've been let down both internally and externally. So there wasn't any way I could build a company without measuring impacts and without like giving off this feeling of trust and transparency and being open to the people who believed in that company. So yeah, tracking is just super important. And the reason I think it is important also is because the world's moved on, and we have apps like Facebook and Instagram dictating the way we generally engage with everything. And that means people need to see stuff to believe it for the most part. And so I think a lot of your charities, nonprofits are not catching on to this message. And for the older generation, you know, they've seen some of these impacts in their community and bought into a lot of these nonprofits, NGOs, etc. But now we're moving to a sort of digital community where you can't see the impact straight away. And so there is no call to join. And so it's even more important now that we're tracking impacts, we're showing impacts, and we're showing people what's happening so they can buy into the thing you're actually doing. I think our generation, the younger generation, do not give as much as a result of that. They can't see where the thing they're giving is going to ultimately.
That's so important. And I think I love what you stressed about transparency and trust. I think there's certain values that, you know, as Black founders, when we're building our businesses, it's so innate to us, it's our experiences, and that really seeps through the products that we build. And so if you are an organization that's building a product for Black communities, not having Black talent on your team, like, you're gonna get your values all wrong. And so my next question is gonna be directed to BJ in terms of how can we really then support Black talent within these organizations, but not only support them and help them get in, but also to thrive as they are and retain that talent.
Yeah, so there's a few things. Something that kind of inspired me was I basically dropped out of university after 3 weeks. I spent most of my time going back to universities, giving talks, working in corporates, and it always discourages me that not everyone learns the same, not everyone retains information the same, and not everyone, after coming out of the four walls of what education is, keeps up the same habits. At some point in life, people become aware of what the benefits of continuous lifelong learning could be for them, and the fact that what you did at degree versus what you need in the real world can sometimes be a major gap, especially when you're trying to transition into new careers that you didn't know existed before. So a lot of times you find really fun and really, really fast growing companies who've got development programs that, you know, the Googles of the world have the 20% time that you can work on anything, and that will enable you to kind of grow quickly. But a lot of other companies, like the normal companies that everyone normally works for, or the big giant corporates that are not more tech focused, they sometimes don't have the career programs, the L&D support that's actually catered for who you want to be. It's kind of a tick box exercise, and you're not really left with any imagination. So the first step, if there's anyone who's watching, who's a leader of a firm, who's a senior manager, my recommendation has always got to be start with opening the doors and do a bit of a listening session with what your audience, who are your employees, are actually thinking, not just for the right now, but who they want to be in 2-3 years. I'm starting to see some leaders, and I'm hoping it becomes more common. I'm starting to see leaders who are actually not afraid to go, hey, I know that X person's not going to work for us forever, and they might leave in 2 years, but how do we make the next 2 years or the next 12 months an enjoyable process, and work to give value to them and who they want to be, and give value to us and who we want them to be whilst they're here. You should never be afraid in investing in a human being, because I think Abadesi is a great example. Sometimes you invest in someone who works for you and they will come back. And there's so many amazing Black talent and friends of mine who have worked at corporate, have left and done something else and gone back to a similar startup years after, because the relationship that was put there was one of trust and one of respect. And I find a lot of times the normal employers sometimes get scared to do that. And one thing, when you're dealing with Black talent, we're not all the same. We all have all these different lived experiences. So if you can find a way to make safe spaces for people to talk about the journey they want to go on, and then next, not just pay lip service, but actually put development programs for 6 months, for 12 months, and allow people to buddy with each other and keep each other accountable by the use of technology. Those are some very, very simple things that everyone can be doing today, because we still need to be accountable to something when we're trying to achieve and strive to get somewhere.
Thank you so much. And that leads me on to actually my other question for Kike. You know, I think as these organizations are, I guess, building programs in conjunction with their employees and their Black employees, and we hope, it's all great if they hire 1 Black person, 2 Black people. And I know a lot of my friends are actually some of the only people within their organization. They're like, Deborah, this thing's happened, but I'm the only Black employee. And I know Jazz, who's on the call today, wrote an awesome letter to her organization on how they can address the Black Lives Matter movement, and some others have done the same. And we're beginning to see this rise of employee activism within organizations, right? You might hire me, I might Black person here, but I'm not gonna stay here if you're not bringing in my brothers and sisters. And so I really wanna get Kike, your thoughts on on employee activism. Us as Black people on the call today, what can we do, and what does the future look like, and more?
Yeah, great question. So at the end of 2019, I was on a panel at the Huxley Summit, and their question was, what is your prediction for 2020? And I said, my prediction for 2020 is employee activism. And what that means is that employees feel empowered to actually speak up and make change within their organizations. And the question was like, well, why do you think 2020 is that year if people haven't been doing it before? And as we saw in 2019, the talk was all about diversity and inclusion, pat ourselves on the back because we just did a panel on diversity and inclusion. We care about diversity and inclusion. But if you're an employee at the organization and you're looking around like, no, you don't, you know that you're like, no, you don't, but this is what you're saying, you now feel empowered to say something because you've said it out loud. You told everyone, this is what you care about. This is the change you're making. So now that employee can now say, actually, this is happening to me. And considering that diversity and inclusion is important, what are we doing? So they can now hold corporations to account. And that's why I believe this was the year for that to happen. Obviously, I didn't predict a pandemic. I didn't predict the fact that we'll have, Black Lives Matter movement again. But this has actually accelerated things. This actually gives us the opportunity to speak even louder right now. And we're seeing it on all those brands that aren't really for the Black community, but yet we give our money to those companies. We're seeing it right now with people speaking up about their childhood at schools and speaking up about racism that they face within the workplace. There's so many threads on it now. And we feel empowered to do so. And I keep saying like right now really is that time for us to say things and speak up, even though I know we're tired. Like we're tired, but right now they're listening. We already saw that the media tried to drown out our voices with the Madeleine McCann story. We already saw that, they're trying to act like Britain isn't that bad when we know what we've been through as Black employees. So that means we need to speak up and feel okay to do so. I mean, if John Boyega, who is a Hollywood actor, is ready to go and march and say, I might not have a job after this, that shows how much he's kind of been through and how much he's fed up of it. Like, if you think of yourself, do you really want to be in an organization that you're tired, microaggression every day, you can't see how you're getting promoted, people that you've trained are being promoted above you, there's no Black senior leadership, and if you do get to top, you can't say anything. Our generation isn't about that life. We don't want that. So now's our time to speak up. I mean, one organization sent an email that they were so inspired by everything that's going on that they're going to do quarterly Blackout Tuesdays where everyone will reflect. So I just disagreed with that. I had to respond and say, no, that is not what we want. We want money in the community. We want jobs, we want opportunities, and that's what we want. And it's pretty clear and it's pretty obvious. So let's not anymore dance around. Let's be very direct with things and let's get the change that we want. We don't want you to put down statistics or this is what we aim to achieve in 5 years' time, and 5 years comes and there's no change. And it's just, okay, we'll set another 5-year target. No, the employee now within the organization, one, is looking to refer others into the organization, is looking to get promoted and understand why they're not getting promoted, and then go somewhere else that can pay them higher. Ethnicity pay gap is a real thing. What are we saying about that? We're getting paid lower. Like, every facet is a problem for the Black community, and really enough is enough, because we're not here to, be mediocre. We know we're talented, we know we're excellent, we work 10 times harder. So being undermined is not okay. So I think we're at a space right now where we're kind of enraged, but also empowered to do more and make sure that it's different for the next generation. Like, I don't want to have children and be still having this conversation. That would be the worst thing ever. So that's why I just felt like, you know, this is actually our year to speak up, to make change. And for example, like some of the things that we have, like the BAME Leaders event, which is like actually all these companies that have Black employee resource groups, let's come together and actually come up with a plan of action, you know, where all of us within these organizations can speak about the change that we want and start holding companies to account. And that's the truth. And so I'm really happy about what's going on right now. And I really feel like everybody needs to capitalize, even though I know we're tired. So take time, but, you know, do what you need to do, and don't feel afraid of like losing your job, because that in itself is a problem if your organization isn't willing to listen.
Enraged and empowered. I love it, 100%. And I think building that cooperation or that collective of Black communities and groups and ERGs within these organizations is super important. So I think those are on the call, if you are working for organizations, feel encouraged to ask them, like, okay, what are we doing about this? Let's publish our data, let's get real with our facts. And that really leads me on to my other question, which is directed to Hannah, in terms of how can these organizations avoid performative allyship? Like, we see straight through it. If you have privileges and you're on this call and you're aware you have these privileges, what can you do?
Well, there are a lot of things not to do that many have done, as Kike was shared. Don't issue press statements in solidarity with Black lives if Wednesday was the first day that you've ever thought about the issue. People know exactly who you are and what you stand for. And unless your statement is going to acknowledge where you have failed and what you're going to go on and do in concrete terms, I think it's best do that introspection and that internal work first. I think what's really key about allyship is ultimately, at an organizational level, is that you should be doing this even when no one is watching. This should be done. It should not have to take an uprising in the United States at the violent lynching of a human being, of a Black man in America, for you to care about these issues. This has to be every single day, relentless commitment to this issue, and it has to be specific, particularly in this moment now. This is not about general people of color, which we've seen lots of statements say. This is about specifically anti-Black racism, which is a 400-year-old emergency. And I think that specificity is, if to kind of take a stand, there has to be something at risk. To be an ally is not just to be a nice person. We can all just be nice people. This is about having something on the line. And that's key. And if you're not redistributing resources, if you're not redistributing power, if you're not disrupting narratives that pervade your organization, if it doesn't take you effort and energy, then it's not allyship, and it's just cheap talk. And frankly, anyone can do that, and anyone will continue to do that. So I think there has to be a fundamental gear change, and I think allyship requires all of those things, and no roundtables, enough canapes. Like, nobody needs any more canapes. Nobody needs any of that stuff. They need deep analysis, systemic thinking, specificity of language, and there has to be something on the line for these companies.
100%. We can't just be for today, we're here forever. I think I just saw Caroline put in the chat, we can't just be a trend. One of my quotes by Jay-Z, you want to be a trend or you want to be Ralph Lauren? Like, listen, organizations are here to stay. If you want to stay here and be powerful, hire Black people, support Black people, train, be their advocate, be their champion, and give us money, right? And so we can get that wealth and we can get that power. And so that really leads on to my next question for Yvonne. You guys, ImpactX, do such a great job in supporting Black founders, not only just allowing them to come to you, but you also show up for them and go to where they're at. And so for those on the call that still believe that it's a pipeline problem, please can you share how you scout for Black founders and support them and show up?
So there is absolutely no pipeline problem. We're coming across exceptional Black founders on a daily basis. Just to put that into perspective, last year we had over 500 Black-owned businesses apply for funding, and we met with well over 150. In terms of, where to look, it's really about tapping into different communities. So, 10 by 10, YSYS, Color in Tech, reaching out to those communities, reaching out to funds like ImpactX, you have to be really intentional about it. And I guess that leads me on to another thing. Like, it's time that VCs start thinking about increasing their talent pool. And when it comes to the talent pool, the VC industry is notoriously network driven. And if we really want to see a change in Black talent, the levels of Black talent at VC firms, VCs have to proactively tap into alternative networks or even hire recruiters to help them with those efforts, because there is no shortage of talent out there. It's for funds to be proactive and actually, tap into different groups. And let's be realistic, VCs continue to tap into their own networks. They continue to, I guess it's almost as if it's the lazy option, hire someone that, comes from a similar background as you, someone that, you understand and you can relate more with. And in my mind, what really needs to change is, addressing the whole issue around, cultural fit and inclusion. Like, how can we make venture capital funds more suitable for individuals like me, and make people like myself feel comfortable within those settings? And so, another way that we could address that issue is through internships as well. There are great programs such as the Future VC program. However, if those internships don't actually translate into potential job opportunities, then the action only goes so far. So again, that's another problem that needs to be addressed head on. But ultimately, I think VC funds need to be more proactive in looking for investment opportunities, looking for talent pipelines, and we have to also mobilize. So one of the things that 10 by 10 VC groups is looking at is whether we could potentially hold VCs accountable. We also need to ensure that more data is recorded around this and how many Black VCs are actually working at funds, and how we can actually look to mobilize and increase the pipeline of individuals.
Fantastic. Data is currency. If you're not tracking, you can't really make that change. You've got to have those honest conversations. I'm mindful of time, so I've got 2 more last questions for the panel until we open it for Q&A, but I don't want this to end. I really don't. I know everyone's got other stuff to go to. So if you are enjoying the conversation, please use the hashtag Black Tech Communities. Go on to tag us at thisisYSYS.com. And if you are on your laptop, please join as an advocate. We will be following up with these conversations in the advocates Slack community. So I guess my question for everyone is, we're here to talk about empowerment. We're here to talk about the great things that we've already been doing. A lot of us didn't just start this work yesterday, like some, we've been doing this for years. So I want to ask everyone to share a highlight moment that's really warmed your heart, and has really highlighted the influence and the impact that you've made. So I'll start off with Jermaine.
Highlight moment. There's been a lot. I think like one of the ones that are very important to me, and I think is often left out of the diversity and inclusion conversation, is how we link to the people that we came from that are back home, in a sense, whether that's in Africa or the Caribbean. Because I think one of the risks to me of diversity and inclusion is you actually create a gap between people within the communities. And so a highlight for me was like a prayer we received after a project we launched where we were providing food support to communities in West Africa, because the African lockdowns mean, people lose jobs and there isn't a social welfare package out there that can support them as well as it can support us in the UK. And so, yeah, a highlight for me was receiving a video where, someone who resembled my grandma was essentially praying for Kwanda and praying for all the members, and the way we've been able to mobilize and look back home in a way that people are doing less and less.
That's beautiful. I saw that video and I was praying like, Ami Jesse. That reminded me of my grandma, Nigerian as well. And in prayer, like, we come together, and I literally cried when I saw that. So powerful. I want to ask the same question for Kike.
Yeah, so I have so many. I mean, BYP Network's been on a journey for about 3 years now. And so I just want to firstly thank all our members that have been part of this journey. Tech is not easy, but we're super proud of what we've done in our platform right now. We get testimonials all the time. I think in terms of the community, our conference last year was incredible. I mean, we had 800 Black professionals there. We had 50 Black senior leaders talking on stage, including C-levels. And a lot of these people that we didn't even know existed, you know, we had to go out and find them because they're just not visible like that. And the things that they shared on the stage, the way everybody felt so empowered, the way the room felt, it was like there was actually an energy and a spirit in that room. Again, that just left people like buzzing and ready to kind of, you know, kill it in life and be the future leaders that we want them to be and that we need them to be. And that's why the focus was on leadership. Like, it's always been on leadership, because I genuinely believe that we need Black leaders. Like, everybody needs to be a leader in some form. Nobody can be, but if you go for it to be that leader, and whether it's in organization, community work, whatever it can be, so that we can actually make that change. And we've seen so many leaders pull up the ladder, and we're not that generation that will be doing that. We're sending that elevator back down, and it's about right now mentoring people along our journey. We can't no longer have that mindset of, when I reach the top and I'm a multi-millionaire, that's when I'll give back. No, you can give back now. You can do things now. I think also our fundraise, which we did with Kwanda on their platform, we put out just 10K fundraise quick for NHS workers, because we realized we were, you know, disproportionately dying. And it felt like, you know, these are our parents that are going out to work because they need the money, but then they're also dying. So it's like, how do we help them in terms of, you know, don't go out maybe for 2 weeks or a month if we cover your bills. And we raised that 10K, but because of the big size of the packet, we were only able to give out like £250 to £500, so to 33 people. But we had about 220 applications, so that left a hole in like my heart, like, oh my God, like that's not enough of an impact. So we raised it to £20,000. Today we got a £10,000 donation from a corporate, and right now we're on £25,000, and that means we can help more people. You know, and that's what I mean about put the money in the community. Put the money there. Look, the donation page is open, so please continue so that we can help our parents, you know, and these people that are on the front line. And then at the same time, just things like, again, the testimonies we always receive, everyone that sends anything, we appreciate it. But then also, like, you know, in my LinkedIn, I'll get CEOs and chairmen contacting saying we have a race problem. We've been contacted by like CEO of Coots, of BBC, of Nationwide, like, you know, and it's like, wow, you guys see us, like, we're these young women who are just ready to make change, and we're loud about it, and it's appreciated, it's accepted, because people have understood that, you know what, we do have a problem. Whereas we haven't been able to do that really as a community out of fear. But I'm not fearful. I'm like, change needs to happen, and we're fed up, and we're not just going to sit back anymore. So I feel like, you know, I'm just so excited about the journey of BYP and like where we started to where we are now, and our ambition is far greater. You know, we have our app now, we have our platform, you know, our ambition is that there's 55 million Black young professionals around the world. Why don't we have 55 million Black young professionals on our platform? It's just that simple. That's what we're here to do. And then to connect with all the other communities, connect with Black businesses, Black initiatives, Black charities, you know, so that we can really be that economic power. And that's where it starts before we then move to political power, media power, and all the other power that we need as a community to really make that change. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and there's so much more that we're going to do, so much more.
There's so much energy. Listen, I feel like we're going to go over time, but if you don't want us to end this at 7:30, please comment in the chat and we'll maybe put on another 10 minutes. Listen, I think what I love about Kike is that you're so real on the front line and behind the scenes. The support and love that you give to your members. I know my mum was impacted by COVID, and Kike was calling me every single day saying, how's your mum? How's she going? And so if you haven't donated to Belly's fund yet, I do encourage you to go onto BYP's website and donate and support the community. Same question again for Hannah.
Hi, so I think it feels like a long 5 years for Fearless Futures. I think for me, it's a lot of the kind of joy that I get is from the kind of small shifts that, I mean, small, I guess, versus the world, but the people who have done our programs who are able to have new conversations with their peers who are leaders, or with their reports, who are able to be specific and challenge instances of racism and other injustices in their organizations, and who write and say, I did this scary thing because I held somebody to account and I was sweating and I was shaking, but it was the right thing to do, and I did it. And it's kind of like a muscle. The more that you commit and put your energy into this, it doesn't always get easier. Sometimes it gets much, much harder, but it requires that constant habit and vigilance, as I said. And so from that through to leadership teams reorganizing their leadership structure so that they didn't have the Middle East and Africa reporting into Europe, like EMEA is normally how things are structured in big corporates, and making those decisions to make those structural changes in their organization. When I hear those things about what people have done after our programs, that lets me know that we're making some progress.
Fantastic. And that's some progress, because we've still got a lot of work to do. And I think what I love about Fearless Futures is that you are so open and transparent with who you work with, and committed to working with organizations that want to go on this journey. It's not a tick box exercise. It's not just for today. It's not just to look good. It's like, this is a continuous process, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It was intended to be that way. And so I love kind of your commitment to those values, and really being an ally that can inspire others. I'm going to ask the others just to maybe share, which is such an important message about your impact, just in less than 2 minutes, so we can open it up for Q&A. So over to you, Yvonne.
Yeah, so I mean, several examples, but one that has really stuck with me. So last year I met a Black male founder, and he shared his experience with me about how he struggled to raise funding in the UK, and the fact that, he had managed to excel in the corporate world. However, when it came to the world of startups, despite the fact that he had a viable business model, he had a solid team around him, solid traction, he was dismissed and treated very unfairly by some of the VCs here in the UK. And we went on to invest in his company, and the feedback that he gave was he was so grateful for the fact that he could find an investor that he could relate to. And I guess for me, that just highlights the need for funds like Impact X, and why representation is required at all levels of VC funds. And so that's something that really touched me personally. And I just think that when you think about Black people, we are so influential in so many aspects of various industries, so film, fashion, music. And I'm just hopeful that as more and more access to capital becomes available, we can have more of an influential impact in the world of technology going forward.
Thank you so much. We hold the cultural currency. So my next question, over to you, BJ.
Yeah, this one's a hard one because it's been a journey. But I suppose the place to start is seeing humans, because it's been 10 years, seeing actual people grow up with me. So when I started, I was 14, and there's people that I met when they were 16, when they were 18, who are now doing the thing that they thought they couldn't do, who are hosting radio shows, running businesses, working at big corporates. And when we link up and talk, that's a journey. I remember back in 2014, I found an email that Jermaine was actually, I asked him to design something for me. So like this journey around doing business, like you're going to meet people, and that journey you go on with people and what they end up doing, and just helping break those glass ceilings is very important to us. And during COVID, we decided to sit down and actually help Londoners who needed food. As everyone knows, there's been a lot of people who've lost jobs, unfortunately. 1 million people applied for universal credit. In the last 6 weeks, my community have come strong. 300 people have donated. We've managed to raise £60,000, and we fed 13,500 people in the last 6 weeks, and we're on a mission to try to feed 100,000. We're going to partner with Kwanda as of next week, and hopefully be feeding specifically Black Londoners. And it's a journey. It's like people are coming together, and we're just trying to make sure that every single time these people have taken a journey, no matter what job they're doing, like, let's keep together because we're stronger together kind of vibe, That's called A Plate for London, by the way.
Stronger together. And last but not least, Abadesi.
I can never pick a highlight because I have highlights all the time. This is why I do the work that I do. Every time someone slides into my DMs and says, Abadesi, I just used your book to negotiate a pay rise, I'm like, woohoo, my life has been worth it. Every time someone slides into my DMs and says, hey, I'm the only Black person in my small town, wherever I am, and listening to your podcast makes me feel connected to other Black people, it all feels worth it. So I really can't pick a moment. Even this is a highlight. This is a highlight. This is going down in the highlights reel. So, it's all highlights when good things happen and I get positive feedback from our community.
I love that. I love that. And I'm like a testimony, because literally I remember when I was starting out early on in my tech career, I literally used to call Abadesi crying all the time, and she really kind of passed those nuggets from her book. So if you haven't purchased her book, please do Hustle Crew on the website. So we're going to open up to Q&A, and Lynette is going to open it up. Thank you so much, Lynette, as well, because last minute I pinged her on Slack if she could help moderate, and like the loving person she is, she said 100%. This is why it's so important. Black people just supporting Black people, like, we've got to do this. Make sure that you are using the hashtag Black Tech Communities. You're tagging us, this is YSYS, and you're becoming an advocate, because we want this conversation to keep on going. So join as an advocate. You can join as little as £3. It will allow us to keep on hosting this. I had to get Zoom webinar today, and it cost me £300 that I do not have. But yeah, we're going to open up to the Q&A now.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you all of you. Like, this has been amazing, and we also have some really motivational questions here. We've got an interesting one from Gabby to Hustle Crew and Jermaine. I think Yvonne can probably answer as well. What's your stance on cryptocurrency, and can we as a community rely on it as a form of finance?
I'm going to hand to Jermaine.
Yeah, so I actually think cryptocurrency is going to be, or could potentially be, an important tool in the future of Black people globally. We, like, historically spoke about things like a single African currency, and again, you know, there's like controversy around how that was shut down. And so cryptocurrency, again, when I spoke to the idea of protection, that is a way for us to bring back concepts like that in a way that's protected and actually tested and useful in the world. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Like, in Kwanda's roadmap, there's definitely a note on cryptocurrency, and a lot of people have reached out to me and said, you know, they're working on cryptocurrencies, and I hope Kwanda could be at a place where we essentially are able to kickstart whatever currency we feel is viable, because we have the community to do so.
Yvonne, did you want to answer? Shall I move on?
That's an area I'm still learning about. So.
Okay, I'm going to move on. This can go out to anyone. How to build self-confidence as a Black person. So I guess that's either as an entrepreneur, in the workplace, in your communities. How have you built self-confidence, and what advice would you give to Lily?
That question is such a good question, because I get that question a lot, and I just think for a lot of people it will take time. I think you have to actively work on it. I think my background was sports and all that stuff, and with sports you have to mentally tell yourself that you are the best, and that like, you will achieve what you want to achieve, and you have to have that mindset. So even tapping into a sports mindset does help, and confidence breeds from kind of thinking that I'm not afraid. You have to kind of cast your fears away. Like, if you're afraid of, I might lose my job, so I'm not going to say anything, then you don't have that confidence. You won't be able to say too much about a situation. Or if you feel like, imposter syndrome, that's a big thing. How do you tackle that? You think of 3 things you want everybody to think about, by the time that they walk away and hear your talk. You think about that, and you put that out to the crowd. You just have to work on it, and confidence, without it, it does hinder your success. You have to have confidence. And I've seen it time and time again of people being amazing, incredible individuals, but they don't even know how incredible they are. So firstly, how incredible are you? Write down your story. Who are you? What's your background? What have you overcome, despite everything around you? And then use that to empower you to know that actually I deserve a seat at this table, and I deserve to be here, and my voice should be heard, because, I got this job, or I'm here in this position for a reason. And then you use that to mobilize yourself, and don't let anybody, make you feel less than you are. So practice on it, work on it, talk to yourself, affirmations, and yeah, be fearless.
Just to add to that, sorry, I'd say just do really hard things. Like, do really hard things, and once you end up on the other end of it, you don't have to like fish for that confidence. It's just a given.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I would say what Jermaine said, confidence is a muscle. The first time you try to do a pull-up, well, I still can't do pull-ups, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to wake up one day and you do it. As I learned from Tiwa Lola of Confident and Killing It, it's a practice. Confidence is a practice. Some days I am, some days I'm not.
Awesome. So it is 7:30. So panelists, please excuse us. We're going to go for another 10 minutes before then calling it to a close. So I hope that's okay if you have another 10 minutes to stay with us. Thumbs up? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, back to.
Okay, I've got a really interesting one. that's been asked by two different people from different perspectives. So it's about the BAME title. So one person, she's a British Asian, and she feels like the kind of Black identity has been lost and the Black struggles have been lost in the BAME title, and she feels that she's been complicit and either other minorities have been complicit. So she wants to know how they can kind of ensure that BAME isn't kind of making the Black struggle become erased. And then from another person who, I think she's Ugandan from her surname, they're asking, how do you teach non-Black people not to kind of fear the title Black, and how do you teach corporations to embrace Blackness and the Black experience?
Let me start with that one. I know I just spoke, but this is my question. BYP Network stands for Black Young Professionals Network. From day one, I said Black. I didn't say BAME. And the reason I said Black was because I once got onto a BAME program, and only 2 of us were Black out of 20. So from there, I saw injustice of like, even in BAME, we're not even here. So I was already very aware that Black needs its own focus. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of communities that, you know, or just corporates say diverse. What does diverse mean? Like, what is diverse? That's why people can be an all white board and say we're a diverse team because, oh, that person's from Australia and that person's from France. That's what we get. So you have to be strong with the title. It's Black and we have our own struggle. We have our own culture. And I think those that say like, you know, that was a really good question that, you know, we've been complicit. A great example is that BYP Network co-founder is actually Asian. She grew up in Kenya and she saw the difference of the way the Asian community treated the Black community. That impacted her of like, wait, hold on, I'm Asian, this is my community, and we're this way to the Black community. I don't like that. That's how you become an ally. That's how you make change. So, you know, you're Asian, you're white, whatever you are, understand the struggle of the Black community and know that it is different and see how you can help and how you can be a part of that. You know, use your voice, use your platform and help other Black people get a seat at the table. It's just about everybody being very aware of their surroundings and educating themselves on the Black struggle. That's it.
Amazing, amazing. Did anyone want to add to that? Or can I keep it moving? Okay. Someone's asked about mentors. So who are the mentors that have helped you along your journey?
I have strong feelings about this. I think as a community, we've internalized a lot of the inferiority that we're taught, and that makes us feel like the only mentors we should get value from are people who are maybe older than us or have privileges that we don't have. The greatest mentors in my last 5 years of being an entrepreneur have been people in my community. The people you see on this screen right now, like they're friends. And, you know, a lot of the people that have succeeded in the business world, they didn't have the experiences we have. They come from different backgrounds, they come from different identities, they come from different privileges. So the most valuable mentors for me have been the people that can empathize with my struggles and empathize with the challenges I faced and remind me that I am here for a reason and I should keep moving forward despite everything that I've experienced. So, you know, my mentors are my friends are my mentors. And there are many people, they don't know how much I look up to them, but I do. So yeah, my mentors are my peers.
On mentors, especially for those that are young and starting out and maybe don't have family members who are in business, I think don't be afraid to think of the internet as a place to get great mentorship. I spent an obscene amount of time on motivational blogs when I was growing up, to the point where I just thought everything was possible. Being 13, being 14, being 15, being 16, 17, spending years watching Russell Simmons run around, set up Def Jam, see P. Diddy run around and do business, see Oprah set up her own TV station. It's just seeing legendary stuff and kind of filtering what I was watching way before Instagram started. You are literally a product of what you consume. And I literally used to spend a lot of time watching stuff. So when I said at 19, I'm gonna do a pop-up market and hire a warehouse, 50,000 square feet and have 500 people there and serve 5,000 people, a lot of people thought I'm crazy, but I saw people who were 19, 20, 21 growing up who, yes, might not have been in my city, but had done game-changing things. So be aware that you can actually motivate yourself and teach yourself through all the lessons on just a platform called youtube.com. And ultimately, long term, you'll be able to watch on BYP, watch on Super, watch on Kwanda. But there's stories of local entrepreneurs, but also international entrepreneurs who've come from similar backgrounds to you that you can be really inspired from. And that, for me, has been game changing. Now that I look back in hindsight, So really watch what you're watching and make yourself a little program.
Fantastic. I also want to echo on the mentorship side as well, what Abadesi and BJ said. Definitely friends. I think that's the heart of YSYS. It's mentorship is a relationship. It's a friendship. It needs to start out authentic. And I think I'd advise everyone just to look at those around you and share positive messages with each other, or sit down with each other and look over your CVs or look over your pitch decks. This afternoon, I was super nervous about this event, and Abadesi sent me a beautiful voice note, words of encouragement. And that's mentorship right there. What you're doing, just showing up for others, is mentorship. Thank you. So we're going to move it on to one last question now, and then we're going to end with some Pharrell happy vibes. So if anyone wants to stay on the call and just listen to the good music in the background whilst they're cooking and getting ready for the evening, please do stay with us. But one last question before we close. Over to you, Lynette.
I think Lynette asked if you could take over for the last question.
Okay. So the one last question for everyone would be, what's one piece of advice you would give everyone that's tuning into this webinar?
Regarding starting, or regarding how to be more powerful Black talent? Let's make it more specific.
For showing up for Black tech communities.
I'll kick off. The one piece of advice I'll say for everyone is, don't be afraid to be yourself. Obviously, RIP Pop Smoke, but I love that quote, shake the room. That's the vibe of 2020. When lockdown finishes, whatever happens in this new normal, be yourself. That's how I've been the whole time. There's people you're going to meet, and not everyone's going to be your best friend. But as long as you're on your purpose and you're doing your thing and you're putting in the work, those that are for you will come. And a season like now is a season to be united, absolutely. And you will build your tribe. Like, you need to just shake the room and do you and be consistent. Have your values and be consistent. That's all I got to say on that.
Okay, I'll say network. You know, BYP Network was all about networking, because I saw it at the top. They were giving each other opportunities. There's a job, nobody knows about it because they circulated it internally or to their friends. We need to be able to create our own privilege, that we can do that. In 10 years' time, when we're all leaders, I should be able to call on Deborah, like, hey, Deborah, there's an opportunity here. You know, but right now we're not doing that because we're not in the spaces that we need to be. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that is what's needed to get more Black people into the room. So network, join BYP Network, our new platform, join the different groups. We now have a Rise of Communities tech group on it. Join it and connect with everybody on this call. You know, post things, let's engage, let's be there for 10 years, in 10 years time, grow together. The reason Deborah could put this on to so quickly is because we're all her friends. She knows all of us. And the reason we all know each other is because we're all in the same industry. So we connected, we networked, and we helped each other. We plug each other all the time for things, plug each other. And if you're not Black, if you're an ally, that's fine. Network within other communities, network and get more Black friends, learn things outside of your own space. And we do the same thing all the time. So I think that's the best thing I can give. Network. Don't just think it's just you on your own. Where I am today is because other people have helped me. And I'm sure others feel the same way.
My tip for the Black people and underrepresented people is to pick a platform or a medium and share your story and educate people on what you're doing, what's worked, what didn't work. I'm a big believer in each one, teach one. And I think all of us have value. We're so underrepresented that every anecdote we share, every lesson we share becomes a tool for the next generation to use, or other people to use. So don't undervalue the experiences you have as knowledge and power. So please create that content wherever you feel comfortable, whether that's Twitter, Medium, personal blog, videos, I don't know, but please, we need more of us doing it and sharing the tips.
Mine would be to finish and start things. I think people would be surprised as to how many people start things and don't finish things. And I know Abadesi mentioned earlier that confidence was like a muscle, and integrity is similarly like a muscle. And if you start things and you finish things, you're going to find you're 10x ahead of most people you'll bump into.
Yvonne?
For me, it's really just about, owning who you are. Like, for many times earlier in my career, I felt like I was the only one in the room, only one, only Black woman, only female in various spaces. And you really just have to own that. Know that you bring a unique perspective. Now is the time to speak up and use the voice that you have and own any unique skills and abilities you have. So really just own it and use that voice that you have.
Hannah?
So I guess this is for any of the white people that have joined this conversation. Read bell hooks, as I said earlier. I'll say it again. Speak up, educate yourself. There are more resources than you can begin to imagine on the internet that are being circulated right now, that are aimed at white people, that are aimed at understanding the movement for Black lives, that are aimed at understanding the history of anti-Black racism. Read them. Don't be lazy. There's no place for your laziness in this moment. There never has been any place for your laziness at any point, but certainly not now. And when you have that analysis, speak to other white people about those histories. It's your responsibility to have those conversations that you've maybe been putting off because you're worried somebody won't like you. Again, there's no place for not feeling liked in any of these issues. And then the final thing I would say is invest in the Black-led organisations that are here as part of this event this evening. Hire Abba, hire Deborah, invest in Kike, Jermaine, and make sure that you're accountable to the Black people that are leading the tech revolution in London and the rest of the UK.